One of my phrases that I love to use, and you know it, I think I'm gonna get a t-shirt. It's not original to me, but we gotta walk and chew gum at the same time. I have been in the room where the importance of doing while learning and building, and that to me has been a part of the fabric of all of these movements.
You're listening to Deputy City Manager of Spartanburg, South Carolina, Mitch Kennedy. This is 1000 Seconds, a podcast hosted by 1000 Feathers co-founder and president, Forrest Alton.
I am so excited for today's conversation. My dear friend, Mitch Kennedy, how are you? How's everything in Spartanburg?
Super fantastic, my friend. I hope things are well in Memphis.
Always, always. You know, you and I seem to go through these cycles where we'll go a few months and like see each other every day, and then we'll go a few months and not see each other enough. We're in one of those not seeing each other enough cycles. So I'm glad I got you pinned down today.
From my perspective, that puts you in a unique category. Some of my best friends in the world, I might go 3-4 months not talk to them, and then on the phone can't get off the phone with them.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to this conversation today, my
Good,
friend.
man. I'm glad to have you in the hot seat. Let's do a little intro first for those that don't know you as well as I do. I wrote down a bunch of words here. Mitch is a dad, a Rotarian, proud member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, board member of too many organizations to name, a Wake Forest alum, not just an alum, but a letterman. So we're going to get into the real meat of the questions here today. Like, is Wake Forest a football school? We all want to know. Let's see. Now the deputy city manager with the city of Spartanburg, South Carolina. If my math's right, Mitch, you've been with the city about 20 years.
20 and a half years. Yep.
In a handful of different roles. Before joining the city, you actually were a scouting professional with the Palmetto Council Boy Scouts of America, worked at the Spartanburg Housing Authority, Spartanburg School District 7. I mean, I learned some things digging around here about your past. I got to tell you, you're a little bit of a ghost online and social media. So I really had to kick over some rocks here to get the full bio.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of that. You know, I would rather, what did they say? I would rather live a sermon than hear a sermon. So
I heard that. So listen, that's a long journey. You and I have known each other a minute. Do you remember sort of where in that career trajectory you and I first crossed paths?
I do. It was at the Raleigh Institute, at Furman's Raleigh Institute. I'm a graduate of that institute, Diversity Institute. You're a graduate, obviously. And they used to convene statewide. And that's been 12, 15 years ago.
All of that.
You and I had a unique encounter at the bar.
Well, way too many of my life stories start that exact same way, Mitch.
We actually closed it as well. And it was a very intriguing conversation about many aspects of life. But what I walked away from there is we clearly are type A's. Both of us. And we challenged each other on many fronts, but it was a very healthy, enriching, inspiring conversation. My philosophy is iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
And that encounter was the start of mutual respect from individuals working in different aspects of this work, but something that I saw as an opportunity to learn from what your type of leadership, was familiar with your work with the campaign to prevent teen pregnancy, but got to know you better that weekend.
That is exactly what I wrote down, almost word for word. And so the feeling is mutual. Just a couple things. First of all, shout out to Don Gordon and the DLI folks and his whole team. It's about time to get us all back together, I think. It has been like at least 10 years. And about that mutual respect part, that iron sharpens iron part. What has happened then to us is over 20 years. I mean, let's just be honest. You and I occasionally are in meetings and we have enough of a trust and relationship that we can have courageous conversations. And we go at it sometimes in meetings, and to the point that every now and then it freaks out the rest of the people in the room. I remember a couple stick out in my mind. And one time somebody came up to me after the meeting and said, "Hey, are you and Mitch okay?" And I said, what do you mean? Like, what? No, we're just talking. Like, you want to hear us really yell, you should watch us play spades together. Like something like that. Like that was pretty calm, really.
Exactly. You know, I always have appreciated that. To me, when I have people that I interact with, and they challenge me and push me, that's a sign of the depth of our relationship.
Yeah.
I lean into those moments and their opportunities. It brings out the best in me. That's kind of how I was raised. Sports is a huge part of my background, and being challenged in that way, to be put up front, to sit on the front row of opportunities and willing to be challenged is something I embrace.
I love it. I got to hit the timer here soon. You and I are going to have to stay disciplined here. There's no way we'll keep this to 1,000 seconds. But before I do that, one quick thing, like give me the LinkedIn or Twitter, version of, if I said to you, what does the deputy city manager do? How do you describe it in a nutshell?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. If you were to ask, the other assistants or deputies across the state, their description would differ from mine. I don't think there's another administrator in the state of South Carolina, North Carolina, that operates the way I operate. To be quite frank, I have typical duties that most assistants or deputy administrators have, as far as overseeing the day-to-day operations of different departments across the city. So day-to-day, I do have to provide leadership to our public works department, our parks and rec department, communications and marketing, community relations, minority business development. But the thing that keeps me the busiest is where you and I've spent the most time in those collaborative partnerships that I do across the city. I came to the city as a community relations director. I've never replaced myself, and I've been promoted 4 times.
Got it. Yeah.
So I continue to lean into the community relations aspect of my work, while also having those day-to-day responsibilities of an administrator.
All right. Well, let's dive into all of it. We'll be right back.
Set your timers, because Forrest's 1,000 Seconds with Mitch Kennedy starts now.
All right. So Mitch, you were just starting to talk about these collaborative partnerships and this work. I've had the privilege of being an honorary Spartanburg resident here for, goodness, like 10, 12 years. We've worked on a number of
taxes for that.
Right. No, I need the dependent part to go the other direction. Yeah, maybe. We have worked on a lot of things together. You in particular, and your colleagues and peers in Spartanburg have been a part of a lot of large scale collaborations and movements, right? I think about things like the North Side Project, which not only has been wildly successful locally, but has gained national attention and awards. Movement 2030 is off and running now. Strategic Spartanburg, A Place to Call Home. I'm sure there are others I'm forgetting, but
Power Up.
Power Up. Yeah. We could make a whole list. I'm curious. I'm going to ask you this question a couple different ways, but I want to start with the environmental factors. Like, what is it about the city? What is it about the environmental conditions that make, these collaborations and these movements possible? When I think about a city that's taking on big challenge after big challenge after big challenge, I think of Spartanburg. Like, what is it about that place?
I think let's be honest, we all have egos. Everybody, you have an ego. Your ego is bigger than most, but we all.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. But we all have egos, right? I clearly have one. One of the things that I've been a part of for my last 30 years in this community is being in the room with leadership and leaders, and to witness the humbleness and how we approach community challenges, leaning into what's most important. And I honestly think that legacy goes back decades and decades and decades in Spartanburg. Not to go down this route, but when I even did my kind of historical kind of like assessment around race and racial tensions, you saw moments in history where the community came together around even challenges, even the integration of our high schools here, how it was done. It was very collaborative, right? There's something about the DNA of our community and the leaders to really check your ego, put the community first, and let's figure it out together.
That's really interesting. Again, I said I was going to ask this a couple different ways. That environment really matters, but obviously so do the people.
Right.
And I know you'll try to lift up a lot of other names here, and that's appropriate, but I want to focus on Mitch for a second. Like, if I took all of those movements we just discussed and put them like in a Venn diagram and wrote all the people's names that were responsible, Northside Development is, Bill Barnett and Mitch Kennedy, blah, 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 and a place to call home is blah, 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 blah. Like all the people that are involved, you put it in a Venn diagram. Let's just be honest. Your name would be sitting at the center of that Venn diagram, as in touches all of these movements in one way, shape, or form. What is it about you and your personality that keeps you looking for the next big thing?
Wow. I've never been presented with what I have done in that way. So I appreciate that perspective. And as I think about that, I'll have to admit, early in my professional career, I was very young and naive around, like who I am and why am I here. In 1995, when I served on my first board, which was the Stop the Violence collaboration, Kurt McPhail, Laura Balknight, all of those individuals.
Oh, wow.
I recall a mindset of, I have a lived experience, I'm from here, and I need to speak for my people in my lived experience. I was young and naive that I thought that when somebody asked me, so Mitch, what does the Black community feel about this? What is Black? I thought I should answer.
Yeah.
And I realized that that was not the right approach. And although I've still maintained the importance of being present. When somebody talked to me about work, I haven't worked in 25 years. I don't see what I do as work. I feel like I came home to this community for a reason. And I have been very intentional about being present and leaning into, I don't run from the fire, I run into the fire. I tell people all the time, people who know me, I think, I play fullback, right? And some people don't even know what that position is today when you look at sports. But when you look at the old school fullback, the characteristics of a fullback, on the running play, he's the lead blocker, right?
Yeah.
Got to hit up there, hit that linebacker, open the hole for the tailback. And the way I played on passing plays, I was the last line of defense. Once they get past the offensive line, I'm there to protect the quarterback. And that fullback was instrumental in the offenses that I played, but didn't get a lot of attention, was not in the limelight, but was foundational to every play. And I've approached my work as a fullback in life. But one thing that you don't see on and that's kind of an old bio you have, by the way. I got to update that thing.
Fair enough.
I'm no longer a Rotarian. One thing that is not on there that is instrumental in my life is that I am the son of Ida Mae Wilkins. The greatest inspiration in my life is my mother. And how she raised me. So there are some very simple aspects of my life and how I approach it. But between my mother and sports have a huge impact on how I do those things. So when you note what you noted about my involvement in all those things, I love Spartanburg. I fell in love with Spartanburg when I came home. So I am usually at the table when it comes to things. And that's what I was noting about my position as deputy city manager. I see the city, and I'm saying the city, as the conscience of our community. I mean, truly the conscience. And I'm often leading that aspect. And I embraced that role when I first came to the city. As a community relations director, I know something about every department here. I don't specialize in any aspect of it.
Yeah.
I know it. And I also take that approach in our community by being present, by being intentional in building relationships. So it's rooted in trust and being sincere. I told the story about being young and naive and answering. And so I don't do that anymore. I take time to develop relationships. So when people think about who should be in the room, they often invite Mitch Kennedy based upon that relationship.
It's all so important and interesting. Another piece that I inadvertently left out of your bio, I apologize, is that you were born and raised in Spartanburg.
Yeah.
Graduated from Spartanburg High, left to go to college and whatever else, but have referenced here a couple times. Then I came home.
I want to come back to Spartanburg. I came back to help my mom out. I grew up, my mother didn't allow us to use the term poor because in her mind, that was a state of mind. We had less than.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was in college that I realized how much less I had. Talking about, where you going spring break? I was headed back to Spartanburg for spring break. I didn't have the means to go to Daytona. I saw when I graduated the impact that my mother had made and the sacrifices. So my first priority was giving back to her, and that brought me home. Working here and connecting with people, I fell in love with my hometown.
Wow. I mean, it makes me think of a lot of different things, not the least of which is when we're talking about creating movements and finding leaders in community, I quite often will say to people, like, not every leader in this community has a business card, right? Like, find the people who know the community, who are from the community, who are respected in the community. You are this sort of interesting unicorn that you have all of those local sun characteristics, but you also have a business card. Right. And you know what's interesting about that, and again, I'm not just blowing smoke here. I mean, you could choose to shy away from that, but you don't. You lean in and as a result are, in your words, the fullback of so much of what's going on in the community. It's pretty cool to hear you articulate the personal side of it and realize how important it is that you have both of those things together, the personal connection and the business card. That's a powerful mix.
I will share it with you. I shared this recently, and I love, again, how you bring that out. But I was talking to a friend that I get just the same amount of joy by walking into a party at the country club and people stopping me, you know, hey, Mitch, as I get going into the community and walking through the neighborhood, and Miss Smith saying, hey, Mitch, how you doing?
Yeah, for
How's
sure.
your son? You mentioned being a father. My son's Micah. He's 19. When I tell you the people in this community know him, but I get so much joy when somebody I haven't seen in 5 years asks me, how is Micah doing? And to me, that's special because he did take the time and was willing to follow me along to those cookouts and those celebrations in the neighborhood. But he's also had opportunity to go to the Piedmont clubs with me and
right.
And hear me speak. And so I get so much appreciation out of it. So that is a joy. I don't take it for granted. I really don't.
It's really powerful stuff, man. At the same time, creating these like large scale movements is not for the faint of heart. I mean, there's a historical environment in Spartanburg that allows for it, a humbleness in the community that allows for it. There are leaders like you and many others that support it. It's still hard, man. The one we worked on most recently and are still working on, we now recognize as being named a place to call home. Started out many years ago as just sort of the city and county trying to get their hands and head around the issue of homelessness and even affordable housing. That movement or any other, Mitch, I mean, when you think about putting these movements together, we've talked about the bright side of it. Let's talk about some lessons learned. Like, give me Mitch's like top 2 or 3 lessons learned about creating large scale community movements.
One of my simple, and you surprised you haven't said it. I can't believe we talked this far.
I know exactly what you're about to say.
One of my phrases that I love to use, and you know it, I think I'm gonna get a t-shirt. It's not original to me, but we gotta walk and chew gum at the same time. I have been in the room where the importance of doing while learning and building, and that to me has been a part of the fabric of all of these movements. It's one thing to, you know, have a thought and we sit around and plan it, but there are people out there that need us today, tomorrow.
Yeah.
And Bill Barnett, who I don't think ever played any sports, and I can say that because he's my friend, but he, you know, used to always say, we got to get some runs on the board.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We got to get some runs on the board. And that really captured me. And this is the early days of the Northside Initiative. You know, there are people seeking our support, and there's an opportunity to celebrate a victory every day while understanding this game is far from over. And that's kind of how I've seen the success of all of these efforts and initiative evolve, is this community's willingness to invest in the moment, yet also creating the sustainable approach that this is not one and done. Mm-hmm. So many of the people that we seek to serve, they have been disappointed by people showing up with these broken promises. And if you just focus on the day and you not have a strategy for tomorrow, you're going to continue that cycle of disappointment to our community. And I'm not going to be a part of a process that approaches things that way. I think it is important to do what you can today, but also think about what tomorrow looks like in next month and next year and 5 years from now.
I appreciate that very much. And I knew we wouldn't make it through this entire segment without walking and chewing gum coming up in some context. We're rapidly running out of time here. We both predicted that would happen, but I want to close with this. I think you also occupy an interesting sort of seat in that you are part of government, part of city government, as it were. You do sit on a number of boards. If I start listing them, I'll forget some, but I think just wrapped up your role as chair of the United Way board, United Way of the Piedmont, lots of other organizations. You also very well respected in the business community. I mean, another sort of interesting part of the environment in Spartanburg, and you are able to see all sides of this, is this intersection of nonprofit, for-profit, government coming together and working together. I'll just say, I see a lot of other communities across the country. That's a bit of a unicorn in and of itself, that all those folks sit in a room together. I just wonder if you have any thoughts on that intersection and how that plays an important role here.
Interesting enough, I hosted a session. Bernie Mazik, who's your friend, who's my friend.
Yeah.
By the way, I just joined his board. You talking about board.
Well, there you go. Add another to the list.
I had board orientation, the South Carolina Association of Community Development, South Carolina Association of CDCs, and Bernie is someone I've known for 15 plus years. He hosted a state conference in Spartanburg this past year. And we were a feature session where I hosted a conversation around that secret sauce in Spartanburg, that collaboration, where, as you noted, bringing together multi-sector. So, I had Russell Booker that was there, who represents education and Spartanburg academic movement. Catherine O'Neill, who leads the economic development efforts for the city and the county. I mean, in Spartanburg, the city nor the county has an economic development department. We prescribe to the economic development model led by One Spartanburg, and the integration of those aspects. Entity like One Spartanburg that's not just looking at, the business sector, but have right now currently looking on a critical social issue around, childcare and the importance of that. And so in that session, it was Catherine and Russell. And it was very difficult for us to stay within that 55-minute time frame with Bernie, just talking about how the success of bringing together our nonprofit sector, our government sector, and our business sector around community matters. I honestly don't believe that there's community in the Southeast doing it at the impactful way that we're doing it. When you start looking at the largest economic development deal in the city's history around baseball, right? And around baseball and what it's created, you had the government sector coming together with the business sector, and it was huge. The impact of that investment, what it will do for our community, I mean, it's hard to really define today, but the impact it will do is unmeasurable. But we do it well. We do it to a high degree, and I'm excited about being a part of it. And I've gotten to this point in this work where I'm somewhat of a nerd when it comes to, I absolutely love being in the room, going back and forth and trying to figure these things out.
For sure.
And there's a lot of people in our community like Bill Barnett, like Alan Smith, like Chris Story, like Cole Alverson, that their passion is the community, but they have the capabilities of figuring this stuff out. And when you bring us all together, the collective impact of what we have done here is pretty impressive.
I agree 100%. That's why I'm always shouting out Spartanburg in my travels. It's why I love connecting and reconnecting with you and your team and your colleagues over and over. And it's why I loved this conversation today. We could go another 2 hours, I know, but the bell has gone off in my ear here. So I've got to bring us to a close and just say, Mitch, thanks for joining. Thanks for being a guest on 1000 Seconds. And I look forward to seeing you soon in person.
Well, if I could have the moment to just say thank you. I recall when we were faced with the challenge of what's next around our efforts around homelessness, the first call I made was to you. So I appreciate you and what you do, and not just what you do, but how you do it.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. We'll talk soon.
You. Yes, sir.
Thanks for listening to 1000 Seconds, a podcast by 1000 Feathers. This series is produced by Renly Wilson with original music from Emily McNally and support from the entire 1000 Feathers team. Learn more at 1000feathers.com and follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook for future episodes.